My cousin tried to hit on every single person I ever brought home for the holidays, and for years I convinced myself I was imagining it. I didn't want to believe that someone I grew up with, someone my family trusted, could be that calculated. But by the end of it, there was no denying what he was doing, and there was no way to unsee how long everyone had allowed it to happen. Growing up, our families were close, like extremely close. Holidays were always at my grandparents' house, and my cousin Ryan was always there. Same age as me, same school for a few years, same friend circles overlapping. The difference was that Ryan was loud, charming, and constantly praised. I was quieter, more reserved, the kind of person who stayed in the background. Adults called him confident, they called me shy. When we were teenagers, it didn't matter. Dating wasn't serious, and holidays were chaotic anyway. But in my early 20s, when I started bringing actual partners home, things started to feel off. The first time, I told myself it was nothing. I brought my college girlfriend home for Thanksgiving. We'd been together almost a year, and I was nervous because it was the first serious relationship I'd ever introduced to my family. She was sweet, polite, and a little introverted, which I liked because it made family gatherings less overwhelming. Within an hour of arriving, Ryan had positioned himself next to her on the couch. At first, it seemed harmless. He was asking her about her major, her hometown, joking about how crazy our family could be. I was grateful, honestly. I thought he was helping her feel comfortable. But then I noticed how close he was sitting, how his arm was draped across the back of the couch behind her, how he laughed a little too hard at everything she said. Later that night, she asked me quietly if Ryan was always like that. I laughed it off and said, "Yeah, he's just friendly." She nodded, but I could tell it bothered her. Nothing happened after that, and eventually that relationship ended for unrelated reasons. I forgot about the moment entirely, or at least I thought I did. The second time was Christmas, 2 years later. This girlfriend was different, more outgoing, more confident. She wasn't intimidated by my family at all. If anything, she thrived in the chaos. I thought that would make things easier. It didn't. Ryan immediately latched onto her. This time, it wasn't subtle. He complimented her outfit multiple times. He offered to refill her drink every time it was half empty. He kept pulling her into conversations I wasn't part of. When I walked into the kitchen, I caught him showing her something on his phone, leaning in close enough that their shoulders were touching. When I joined them, he stepped back like nothing had happened. That night, she told me she felt uncomfortable. She said he kept making jokes that felt like flirting. She said he asked if I was always this quiet, and joked that she could do better. I was angry, but also embarrassed. I confronted Ryan privately and told him to back off. He left. He said I was overreacting, that he was just being nice, that I was projecting my insecurities onto him. Then he added with a grin, "Relax. If she's solid, she won't be tempted." I didn't like that answer, but my family had always brushed off his behavior as just how he is, so I swallowed it. I shouldn't have. Over the next several years, it became a pattern. Every holiday, every partner, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, even random family barbecues. If I brought someone, Ryan made it his mission to insert himself between us. Sometimes it was compliments. Sometimes it was inside jokes he tried to create instantly. Sometimes it was subtle digs at me disguised as humor. He'd say things like, "You must do all the talking in the relationship," or "I can't imagine him planning dates." And every time, if I said anything, I was told I was being sensitive. My aunt would say, "Ryan's just social." My mom would say, "You know he doesn't mean anything by it." My grandmother would say, "You should be flattered. He likes your taste." It started to mess with my head. I wondered if I really was imagining things. If jealousy was making me see something that wasn't there. I even stopped bringing partners home for a while because I didn't want the stress. Then came the relationship that changed everything. Her name was Emily. Emily and I had been together almost 2 years. She knew about Ryan. I warned her before the holidays, half joking, half serious. I told her he could be a little too friendly, but that I trusted her. She promised me she had boundaries. Christmas Eve was fine. Ryan was there, but so was his new girlfriend, and I thought maybe things had finally changed. They hadn't. The moment his girlfriend left early due to work the next morning, Ryan shifted. He sat next to Emily at breakfast. He teased her about the way she drank her coffee. He brought up stories from our childhood that painted me as awkward and him as the hero. When we went outside to help my dad with decorations, Ryan stayed inside with Emily. When I came back, they went quiet. That night, Emily was distant. I asked her what was wrong, and she hesitated before telling me that Ryan had sent her a message on Instagram. He told her she deserved someone more present, someone who matched her energy, someone who would challenge her. He ended it with, "If things ever change, I'd love to take you out." I felt sick. This time, there was proof. I confronted Ryan immediately. He didn't deny it. He shrugged and said, "I was just being honest." When I yelled, when I told him he crossed a line, my family rushed in, and somehow I was the problem. They said I embarrassed him, that I ruined Christmas, that I was accusing him of things that didn't mean anything. My aunt cried. My mom asked why I couldn't just let it go. Emily stood there, stunned. We left early. That relationship didn't survive, not because she cheated, but because the trust cracked. The holidays became something she dreaded, and I couldn't blame her. After that, I stopped bringing anyone home. Years passed. Ryan got married, had kids, settled into the role of the perfect family man. Everyone praised how much he'd matured. I believed it until last year. I started dating again, quietly, carefully. I met someone kind, thoughtful, and strong enough to hold boundaries. Before introducing her to my family, I told her everything, every detail, every incident. She listened and said something that stuck with me. She said, if he does it again, let him. That Christmas, I brought her home. Ryan tried. He complimented her. He hovered. He tested the waters. She shut him down instantly. Polite, calm, public. She redirected every conversation back to me. She declined private chats. When he crossed a line, she called it out lightly but clearly. And for the first time, I saw it. The discomfort, the awkwardness, the way the room shifted. My family saw it too. After dinner, my aunt pulled me aside and asked if Ryan always did that. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Later that night, Ryan confronted me. He accused me of turning everyone against him. I told him I didn't do anything. I just stopped covering for him. We don't speak anymore, and for the first time, holidays feel peaceful. After that Christmas, I started replaying everything from the past with a clarity that felt almost cruel. Moments I had brushed off suddenly made sense. Conversations that once felt uncomfortable now felt intentional. I realized that Ryan hadn't just been flirting. He had been testing boundaries, again and again, and every time no one stopped him, he went a little further. When I thought back to childhood, the pattern was there too. Ryan always wanted what I had. If I liked a hobby, he'd suddenly become obsessed with it. If I made a friend, he'd charm them until they preferred him. Teachers praised him for confidence while telling me to come out of my shell. Family gatherings always centered around his stories, his achievements, his personality. I learned early that keeping the peace meant staying quiet. That habit followed me into adulthood. After the fallout with Emily, I distanced myself from my family more than ever. I stopped attending smaller gatherings. I limited phone calls. When holidays came around, I made excuses: work, travel, illness. Anything to avoid walking back into a space where I felt invisible and exposed at the same time. Ryan, on the other hand, thrived. He became the family favorite all over again. He married someone my family adored. They had kids quickly. Social media painted him as a devoted husband and father. People commented on how lucky his wife was, how charming he was, how present. I wondered sometimes if I had imagined everything after all. Gaslighting doesn't always come from words. Sometimes it comes from watching the world reward someone who hurt you. Years passed like that. Then I met her. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't loud. She didn't crave attention. She listened more than she spoke, and when she spoke, people listened. She had this calm confidence that didn't need validation. Being around her felt steady, safe, grounded. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to explain myself. When holidays approached, I felt that familiar knot in my chest. I told her everything. Not just the incidents, but how it made me feel. How small it made me feel. How alone I felt even in rooms full of family. She didn't interrupt. She didn't minimize it. She said something that stuck with me. She said, "It sounds like they protected him by sacrificing you." That sentence hit harder than anything else. I realized she was right. Ryan wasn't just crossing boundaries. He was doing it because he knew there would be no consequences. Because my discomfort was easier for the family to ignore than his behavior. So when she suggested we still go to Christmas, but this time without pretending, I was terrified. I agreed anyway. From the moment we walked in, I felt it. The tension, the watching. Ryan noticed her immediately. He always did. It was like a reflex. At first it was subtle. Compliments disguised as politeness, standing too close, offering help she didn't ask for. She handled it with grace. She thanked him, then turned back to me. She redirected conversations. She stayed physically close to me in ways that were natural but unmistakable. When he tried to pull her into a story, she said, "Actually, you should ask him. He remembers it better." Ryan didn't like that. I saw frustration flash across his face. Later he tried again, this time more private. He asked if she wanted to step outside to see the lights. She smiled and said, "No thanks. If you want to talk, we can do it here." People heard. People noticed. That's when the shift happened. My mom watched more closely. My aunt frowned when Ryan interrupted me mid-sentence. My cousin's wife looked uncomfortable when Ryan leaned too close. For the first time, I wasn't alone in seeing it. At dinner, Ryan made a joke at my expense, one he'd used before. Normally, it would get laughs. This time, my partner asked calmly, "Why would you say that?" The table went quiet. Ryan stumbled over an answer. Someone changed the subject, but the moment lingered. After dinner, my aunt pulled me aside. She asked if Ryan had always been like that with my partners. Her voice wasn't accusatory, it was uneasy. I told her the truth, not dramatically, not angrily, just honestly. I told her how long it had been happening, how many times I'd spoken up, how often I was told to let it go. She didn't respond right away. Later that night, my mom asked me the same question. Then my cousin's wife did. Ryan noticed. He cornered me in the hallway and accused me of poisoning people against him. He said I was jealous, that I couldn't stand that people liked him more. For the first time in my life, I didn't argue. I said, I didn't make you do anything. I just stopped covering for you. That silence afterward felt different, heavy, final. We left early that night, not out of shame, but choice. The aftermath was messy. Ryan called me selfish, said I embarrassed him, said I ruined the family dynamic. Some relatives sided with him. Others stayed quiet. A few reached out privately to apologize for not seeing it sooner. That was enough. I went no contact with Ryan completely. Holidays changed after that. Smaller, quieter. Sometimes just the two of us. Sometimes with friends who felt more like family than my own blood ever had. And something unexpected happened. I felt lighter, not because the past didn't hurt anymore, but because I stopped carrying it alone. I learned something important through all of this. Sometimes the person who causes the most damage isn't the one crossing the line. It's the people who keep moving the line so they don't have to deal with the truth. I didn't lose a cousin. I lost the version of myself that thought staying silent would keep the peace. And I don't miss him at all.